Into each life some rain must fall. We have been walking through a storm of loss, complications, disappointments, and uncertainty. But we are resilient. We can reorganize. We can support each other, sustain our memories, heal, and embrace the future. And we have. I am Bonnie Dixon, president of Maple Grove Cemetery. For the past 16 years, we have invited and welcomed our families, friends, and community to gather at the cemetery for an annual day of remembrance. Our traditional ritual, the chanter of bagpipe, walk through the cemetery, tribute at 9/11 Memorial, blessings and songs at Lakeside, and finally creation and launch of Remembrance lanterns on the lake at dusk, had to be altered, not abandoned. Rituals are an important component of keeping memories alive, and they promote healing. Rituals bring back familiar feelings of order and the way things were. They bring people together. Although virtually, Maple Grove continues this ritual of celebrating the Day of Remembrance to honor the memories and keep our loved ones present. Many have contributed to our mosaic of memories with thoughtful tiles of sentiments and prayers for loved ones. A mosaic can be interpreted as a spiritual symbol of life. It signifies the various patterns in which we live, dream, and change. The mosaic patterns of headstones and markers of Maple Grove's landscape exemplify the diversity of beings and yet their similarities. The patterns of life, love, and loss are universal. Thank you for adding your thoughts to the mosaic of memories and joining us. The ongoing threat of COVID epidemic prudently dictates not physically being together. Our Remembrance Day this year is truly spiritual, a gathering, commingling of our spirits and energy by virtually being together at the same time to remember and celebrate our loved ones. We can use these moments together to optimistically reinforce our resilience by positively remembering our loved one and how they brought hope, love, humor, pride, inspiration, serenity, and awe into our lives. The true contributions of the individual will help us find our way back from tragedy and loss. Many things are different now, except for love. Your relationship with your departed loved one has changed, not ended. The memories and the stories of who they were live on in your heart and mind. We pause today together to remember the essence of the person and the mutual love and respect you shared. The power of love within your spirit helps you heal and gain strength and find a new normal. Preserve and cherish those connections to their past as you realign your life moving forward. Because of isolating circumstances for safety and public health, the reassuring hugs, encouraging smiles of hope, and gentle touches of humanity from supportive and mourning family and friends are masked and absent. Many are missing the give and take of sharing in-person contact. We have learned to communicate our loss, grief, mourning, and support via Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, email, snail mail, and the telephone. Fortunately, we do have that. Victims of previous pandemics, yellow fever in 1790s and the wave of influenza at the turn of the century, did not. They didn't have the benefit of networks of health services, food supply chains, and public programs. Although these services may have eased some of the physical needs, the emotional, human condition from loss of a loved one is universal, timeless, and painful. Sadness and grief are necessary steps to accepting the reality of loss and beginning of healing. It is said that there are things that we don't want to happen, but have to accept. Things that we don't want to know, but we have to learn. And people we can't live without, but have to let go. This quote is far easier to say than implement. I hope this day of remembrance supports your struggle to give yourself the resilience to pass to a new stage of your life. Grief can be a journey of discovery, to begin to live and love again as your loved one would want you to. In our reflections today, let us include not only our immediate loved ones, but also the essential workers, first responders, and soldiers who have passed on or been injured in service to our community and country. Let us express our condolences to their families and gratitude for their work and sacrifice. In this 20th year post 9/11, let us never forget the ravages of terrorism. The event, the aftermath, the threat, and the impact. Give gratitude to those who serve and make the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe and free. Let us also reflect on the lives lost recently in national disasters, floods, fires, and tragic, senseless accidents and crimes. Those lives snuffed out with distressing, irrational suddenness. Our thoughts to each family grappling with their grief. May they embrace resilience and a new way of thinking, accepting the good, actively forming supportive relationships, and restoring hope, continuing to live and finding a new life's path filled with gratitude, kindness, and bravery. Remembrance can be a unifying force when the sorrow and pain of loss is shared and acknowledged. A cemetery has many life stories to tell. Storms endured, achievements, hope, grief, and the resilience of humankind. The Friends of Maple Grove is a vital volunteer organization that researches and tells their stories by presenting historical programs focused on the rich social and cultural past of many of the individuals interred at Maple Grove. Later in our program, Helen Day, Senior Vice President of the Friends, will give a Spirits Alive historical narration of the victim of an early 20th century pandemic. An urban shaman, Mama Donna, a longtime participant in the Day of Remembrance, will share her thoughts and spiritual blessings. The tiles of the mosaic of memories convey the many emotions of love, sorrow, healing, grief, resilience, hope. Prayers and memories that honor the ones you love. But your tile contribution is an act for yourself. It was your choice to participate, and a choice towards healing and restoring hope for your future. Life will always be complicated. Don't wait for things to get easier or simpler. Be resilient. Choose living right now. Established in 1875, Maple Grove Cemetery is and continues to evolve into an ideal place to memorialize and forever give rest to a loved one in peace. It is also an inviting, restful place for the living to return and remember those are here in perpetuity. For today, I'll share an ancient quote of Marcus Aurelius. Quote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love."
In a park-like setting, Maple Grove Cemetery is a haven of peace and beauty, a refuge of exceptional beauty nestled within New York City. Maple Grove Cemetery is a gracious, historic 65-acre rural cemetery. It is an active, non-sectarian, progressive cemetery with an endearing reputation for providing caring, sensitive services and thoughtful options to honor loved ones. Maple Grove is a place of spiritual peace and serenity that harmoniously blends old and new designs of cemeteries. The beautiful grounds make Maple Grove Cemetery an exceptional place. As a rural cemetery, the landscape includes gentle rolling hills, several gardens, a lake, a labyrinth, and a magnificent collection of trees, shrubbery, and flowers that make it a beautiful kaleidoscope throughout the 4 seasons. Established in 1875, Maple Grove continues to serve as an integral part of evolving Queens communities, not only as a final resting place for loved ones, but also as a place to celebrate lives past and to be a cultural resource for families and visitors. The center is the 21st century centerpiece of the historic pastoral Maple Grove Cemetery. The center is a building that is both spiritual and secular. It is a link between the cemetery and the community, and a place to engage visitors spiritually, physically, and culturally with an atmosphere of peace and quiet dignity. The lower lobby serves as a community space and is used as an art gallery featuring the creations of local artists in many media. It features a uniquely large fused glass memorial window with dazzling colors and imagery. The majestic celebration hall's wall of windows overlooks a vibrant lake, fountain, and lush gardens. Its beautiful architecture and decor provide an ideal setting for family and friends to gather before or after the graveside ceremony. It can be rearranged for a reception or seated meal. In addition to life celebrations and funeral services, the celebration hall is used for meetings, art exhibitions, and many community cultural events. With a working fireplace and cozy home-like ambience, the family room is a private and quiet space, making it an ideal setting for families and small groups to gather. The community room is ideal for smaller life celebrations or to allow families to share their celebration or remembrance event with those who are unable to attend in person, as there is teleconferencing and webcasting technology available. The space is also available for workshops, lectures, business meetings, or other events. The Memorial Niche Room is an indoor, state-of-the-art columbarium located at the center, with niches to house urns and personal items that memorialize loved ones. The beautiful glass front niches provide dignified and attractive resting place for cremated remains. The center, both spiritual and secular, is a place where families and community can gather. The cemetery is sacred and pastoral, established and existing to serve all.
The work of the Friends of Maple Grove Cemetery is to tell stories of the past. We give a voice to those who lived long ago. Sadly, a great many stories have been forgotten. Often when we look to the past, it shows us that events and circumstances faced by our ancestors are being faced by us today. A cycle of life that teaches us no matter how dark and desolate times seem to appear, civilization has survived and will rebound stronger than before. My name is Sophie Danneman. I came to rest here at Maple Grove on October 26, 1918. I was a victim of a terrible affliction sweeping the world. I was born in Germany in 1889 and came to New York City at the age of 14 in 1903. I had dreams about the wonders of America, even with only $10 in my possession. I became a domestic servant and lived in Brooklyn when I met a young grocer named Ernest Danneman. We fell in love and married in 1915. A year later, I gave birth to daughter Meta. In 1917, a son William, and on July 16, 1918, Ernest Jr. was born. By this time, the world was in the midst of a terrifying global pandemic. The great 1918 influenza epidemic was an exceptionally deadly pandemic. The earliest documented pandemic illness was in Kansas, United States, in March of 1918, and then in April 1918 in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. An estimated 500 million people, about a third of the world's population, was infected in 4 successive waves, with about 675,000 deaths in the United States. Estimates of the death toll range from 17 million to a possible high of 100 million, making it one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. There were many terrifying situations during those dark days that strangely mirror what is happening to you all today. A few months after the birth of my 3rd child, I became ill, and my beloved Ernest took great pains to care for me. We became deeply concerned as day after day, newspapers reported how the pandemic affected everyone globally and in our community. The October 22, 1918 issue of the Long Island Farmer read, "The prevailing pandemic of influenza must inevitably delay, for a moment at least, the victory of the Allied armies from World War I, and is the most inopportune outbreak of disease that the world has ever suffered." The newspaper stated that there were 4,317 new cases of the influenza and pneumonia and 553 deaths reported to the Department of Health of New York City. Our particular trouble is with Queens and the outlying districts. The municipal lodging house had been turned into a hospital, and nurses were needed. Cases of pneumonia were increasing in Brooklyn, and Queensboro was in a desperate plight. If the epidemic continues, serious conditions are feared, owing to shortage of physicians, nurses, and hospital accommodations, and even coffins to bury the dead. Most of the hospitals cannot accept influenza sufferers because the buildings are not adapted to isolating the patients and are overcrowded. The Hospital for Contagious Diseases between Jamaica and Flushing, the only city hospital in the borough, is filled. Physicians in the Jamaica section are now averaging 100 calls a day. Nurses are scarce. Many are themselves ill. 27 American states reported the disease still spreading, with many additional cities and rural districts affected. Army Camp Upton issued quarantine restrictions and canceled indoor concerts and visits from civilians. There were 150 funerals in one day at Calvary Cemetery. On one day recently, there were 200 funerals. There are 359 bodies awaiting burial. Until the efficacy of a vaccine is demonstrated, fresh air and the avoidance of crowds are the 2 best preventives known to common sense and science. I succumbed to the virus on October 23, 1918, leaving my husband with 3 little babies. The ongoing pandemic of COVID-19, which began in December 2019, is the deadliest pandemic since the 1918 pandemic. The human population has been affected by pandemics throughout history. It brings out the best and the worst in human nature. But with fortitude and hope, the world will survive, and life would return to normal. Sadly, those pandemics would be forgotten until it suddenly returns. It will pass as it has done before. We only need to look to history to understand what has happened over and over. Thank you.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine, that's your way. You always walked a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name for so long. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I would like to be. I can fly higher than an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Of course I know you. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I could fly higher than an eagle. For you are the wind beneath my wings. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything, everything I wish I could be. Oh, Lord, I can fly higher than an eagle. 'Cause you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, the wind beneath my wings. Fly, fly, fly away. You let me fly so high. Somewhere out there, beneath the pale moonlight, someone's thinking of me and loving me tonight.
Somewhere out there, someone saying a prayer that we'll find one another in that big somewhere out there. And even though I know how very far apart we are, it helps to think we might be wishing on the same bright star.
And when the night wind starts to sing a lonesome lullaby, it helps to think we're sleeping underneath the same big sky.
Somewhere out there, if love can see us through, then we'll be together.
Somewhere out there, out where dreams come true.
And even though I know how very far apart we are, it helps to think we might be wishing on the same bright star.
And when the night wind starts to sing a lonesome lullaby, it helps to think we're sleeping underneath the same big sky.
Somewhere out there,
If love can see us through, then we'll be together. Somewhere out there, out where dreams come true.
What a long, difficult time we've been living through. We have all experienced and witnessed so much profound loss of health, loss of income, loss of stability, loss of assembly, and the comfort that gathering together, loss of any sense of normality. And most painful of all, the loss of family members, friends, colleagues, and neighbors whose lives were stolen by COVID. Today we remember those who are nearest and dearest to us by adding their names and their stories to the memorial mosaic of memories. While we will always remember and cherish the lives of our dearest, nearest ones, we cannot keep our emotions buried with them, and they would not want us to. But we are each walking, talking, breathing, living memorial mosaics. We carry our loved ones with us in our heart as we go out into the world of the living, where they can continue to inspire and support us with their memory and with our undying love for them. Let the wind carry the prayers and wishes and blessings in our hearts, and share them with all living beings and the planet that sustains us all. Let us honor our profound loss, our deep love, by turning our grief, our sorrow, our loneliness into powerful resilience and a brave resolve to create peace and well-being, peace of mind, peace of heart, peace on earth, so that these precious souls can truly rest in peace. What better tribute can we offer them? I bless the future that lies like an embryo of a dream growing in our hearts, a dream conceived in love, carried in trust, nurtured by faith, and born in compassion. A dream of a future of peace, a future of plenty and vibrant health, a future of spiritual fulfillment, a dream raised by our best intentions and realized by every thought we think, every action we take, and every word we speak. That future is now, and we will rise to meet it. We will overcome all hardship, face the future with optimism, courage, and good grace. We will rise, and we will thrive.